Oh my gosh, yeah, it was a great episode. A lot of those scenes, funny enough, were my audition scenes. So there was a lot of anticipation going into this episode. The scene with Arabella, not the physical stuff, but everything leading up to that was one of the audition scenes. The scene with Izzy and JB, that nice little fight scene, was also an audition scene. Yeah, so it was a lot. I've been rehearsing those lines for a long time. And it was really nice to finally get to do them on camera and yeah, and hopefully do those scenes justice. Yeah, that takes a lot, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, he did some pretty heinous things. I think this is probably Williams at his absolute worst. Yeah, he's having a full-blown crash out in this episode. But it was fun as an actor to film, that's for sure. Just outside of that one scene at the end of the previous episode, this was kind of the first time the two men face with William having the new knowledge that this is his dad. And of course, I think he's still quite heated, and William's not really thinking rationally in this episode ever. So I think he's just seeing red when he sees his father. But you know what? He's the one person that actually gets through to him. And maybe it's this connection that they had when they were younger, Jamie being the groom at Hellwater when William was a child. But he does see reason for a little bit and then lets his cousin go. And kind of undoes at least a little bit of the damage that he dealt in this kind of tornado that he's been causing throughout this episode. So we had some good discussions about it and about, outside of that scene too, we had a lot of discussions about maybe small mannerisms that William would carry that would be reminiscent of Jamie's mannerisms. So Jamie always kind of does this with his finger when he's thinking about things, kind of on the holster of his gun or anything like that. And that's something that we decided William picked up when he was a child and they were interacting a lot. We had a lot of discussions about kind of the two characters and how related they are and how similar they are. They're obviously two different people, but I think William does see him as a father figure in his early life, and that's carried on. And hopefully he'll see him as a true father figure very soon. I think he's a little bit mad at him these days, but eventually I think he'll come around, hopefully. The very first scene with Claire, I think there are a lot of levels to it, and we didn't want William to just come across as someone who's angry and just reacts in a negative way and reacts with anger and aggression. We wanted him to be a person with layers and that can express empathy, and that first scene, when he asked questions about his mother and the nature of him coming to be, we wanted to approach it with a gentleness, and I hope that comes across, because he really wanted to give Jamie and his mother a chance, and he didn't want it to be this spur of the moment thing that meant nothing, because then in his mind that would mean that he meant nothing. He was kind of an afterthought of passion. He wanted some kind of reassurance that he was actually wanted and that he is loved by the people that made him, and he doesn't really get that reassurance, and that's when he kind of explodes. I think Jamie is kind of on a mission to express that love to him, but William doesn't want to hear it yet, and I don't think he's ready, and I don't know if he'll be ready for a long time. That was a difficult scene. It was one of my audition scenes, and it just had a lot of layers, and I had a lot of things that I wanted to add into the scene that go beyond just the lines. So hopefully we do it justice. And I had an amazing scene partner. Katrina is just absolutely fantastic, and she. You know what? When you do scenes with actors that actually still give their best performance, even when they're not on camera, even when the cameras are facing you and you're just looking at them, I think those are the best scenes, because then you get genuine reactions from the person on camera, and she's a master doing that. So. The audition scene ended right before that moment. It was the scene where I'm telling her I'm just gonna sit on the chair I do not propose to molest you, or whatever I said there, which sounds really weird in modern day language. But yeah, that whole beginning where I try and save her from the captain, the redcoat that intends to defile her, which is just horrible. And I kind of lay out my intentions that I didn't do this for any pleasure of my own, but I just want you to have a safe night. And that was the one of the audition scenes that I started with. Those are always so interesting. I've done a couple intimate scenes in my past, but nothing of that degree. It is also quite funny to do it in front of your crewmates and just people that you're friends with. That's always such a strange idea. But yeah, I think the intimacy coordinator is really crucial in making both people comfortable and like making sure that there are boundaries and there's safety measures for each person. And you can just say cut whenever something feels off, or if you want to redo the take. They're quite funny because even though I think there is obviously chemistry and things like that, those scenes feel quite procedural because they're quite pre-rehearsed with the intimacy coordinator. So it's almost like doing a dance, which I thought was quite interesting and kind of a new experience for me. I'm a bit nervous about my grandmother watching that when that comes out on the TV. But you know what? Maybe I'll tell her to skip that episode. I'll tell her a commercial went on and I'll change the channel real quick. Oh, the power went out for about 25 seconds. Oh no, what happened? We'll never know. I think he is like ultimately willing to do this with this person. I think he finds a very special connection with Arabella or Jane. I do think that the last thing he's kind of holding on to is his honor, because he now knows that his true identity as the Ninth Earl of Ellesmere is based off of a lie. All of these things that he grew up believing, all of these, these ideas of his. Of his fathers and the kind of morals that Lord John Grey passed on to him is all fraudulent in his mind, at least at this point. And it turns out that he's a bastard, and all of these things that he's been given and he's been taught to believe are lies. I think the last thing he is holding on to is his sense of honor and the idea that he has virtue and that he's a good person. And I think maybe in his mind, him kind of allowing himself to enjoy himself in that moment and not resist that kind of temptation, to him is a loss of his honor. And although I do think that ultimately that's what he wanted in that scene, he was lost in passion, and I think he did want to be with Arabella / Jane. I guess her real name's Jane. So he wanted to be, I don't think he wanted to be with Arabella. I think he wanted to be with Jane, which is an important distinction. But yeah, I do think that it's bittersweet for him. There's a lot going on in that little brain of William Ransom in that moment. I think it's a special one, and I think it's something that William may not have experienced. I think it's something that he thought he experienced or would have liked to experience with Rachel, his first love interest in the show. But this time around, I think he does feel a connection and like a strange, it's two people that are fighting for an idea of what they want in their lives, and it's two people that are not in very good circumstances at the moment, and I think they're bonding over that, and they're bonding over, in a strange way, they couldn't be more different. William comes from immense wealth, and Arabella / Jane doesn't at all, and but they do find some kind of common ground in their experiences. And I think they just like each other, and so I think there's going to be a bond that resonates and that continues through there, whether or not that's something more romantic or just them sticking around by each other's side. I do feel like William now has a duty to protect Jane, and just because of their bond. So I think that might be something that is to come. You know what? As much as he wants to run away from Jamie, he's very Jamie. I think he's very much both of his parents. There's some negative things that maybe he inherited from his mother, and some positive things from his mother as well. But yeah, he is very Jamie. Just instinctually, I think. I think at the moment, especially in this season, William is not interested in reconciling, at least in this moment, with either of them. Because, I think John Gray is the one person he's always trusted and he's always confided in, and that's the person that lied to him the most since birth. And I think that's the biggest sting for William out of anybody, even more so than Jamie. And then Jamie represents everything that he never wanted to be. He represents this Scottish, non-lordly person that's a traitor to the crown. And I think just as a concept, he doesn't want to reconcile with that at all, because that also means maybe reconciling with who he truly is, and I don't think William's ready for that. I think he wants to keep his walls up, and I don't think he has the mental bandwidth at this moment to really uncover who he is. He's not going to therapy anytime soon. I do hope that he comes around soon enough, and I think the important bond between those two dads is something that William could really benefit from, because ultimately both of them love him immensely, and he's not ready to hear that, but they did act in a way, they acted out of love, and they acted in a way that would hopefully protect William, and although William doesn't see that, hopefully he does eventually. There is some action. I don't, whether or not it's battlefield action, we'll have to see, but definitely action. He's a man of action.